Hey everyone, I hope you're having a good Tuesday. Hey, I want to give you a quick update on this potential tornado outbreak. It's really not impacting our area, so if you're worried about it in Arkansas in terms of Northwest Arkansas, you don't have to worry about that. Yes, the winds are absolutely crazy, and we've been talking about that, and that's the system that's coming through. But really, I want to provide this update because my man Josh Rugger is chasing along with, well, let's just say his mom, and not only that, but also Riley Bell. So they're about all out there in the field, and we've got several other storm trackers that are out there, including Zachary Hall in the Arkansas Storm Tracker. And so, just in case you're wondering about a little meso analysis and do a little synopsis on the severe weather situation, let's dive into it and talk about it. So, first of all, you're going to see obviously the PDS tornado watch that's been issued. I've actually learned something about our weather graphic system and called them about it because there's a bug where it doesn't differentiate between a PDS tornado watch and a tornado watch. You might be thinking, well, what's a PDS tornado watch? PDS stands for particularly dangerous situation. Yes, all tornadoes are dangerous, but this is in fact could be a massive tornado outbreak with multiple tornadoes expected, and including some long track tornadoes. These are the ones that typically hurt and in fact sometimes lead to fatalities. So that's what we mean by the PDS tornado watch. So that's what we've got to our southeast for our neighboring states. And we're going to take a look at some of the stuff too. Just to let you know, a cold front is definitely on the way, and the temperature is absolutely going to plummet with this temperature. What's going on, Mandy? Hope you're doing well. There is the cold front that's coming in, already nudging through Oklahoma City. But man, is it nice right now? Yes, it is windy, and we did have those wind gusts that were pretty strong. In fact, a 40-mile-an-hour gust at XNA. Rogers, well, wind maybe knocked down the the wind sensor. And so that's essentially what we've got going on for us. Just a quick update since most of my weather viewers are in our area. Here's the cold front that's moving in tonight. Are we expecting any rain? Maybe an isolated stray shower that pops up in extreme eastern sections of our weather coverage area before it even has a chance to develop. It's going to move off to the east pretty quick. Then you can see that front continuing to drop south. And look at the temperature drop. Now, the model hinting at a little bit of flurry activity for Roby. You in Southwest Missouri, you'll be having to watch for sure. That maybe a little bit of flurries could potentially happen. Then you could see on Wednesday afternoon, highs are going to struggle to get out of the 30s as we're going to be mainly in the 40s. But instead, we're going to take a look at this weather system. And in order to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up the weather graphics here. I'm going to share my desktop. And so we're going to take a look first of all at hopefully this is loading here. Let's see. There we go. Very, very large scale trough, a very big long wave trough that's coming through, a lot of energy. Now, the storms are a little delayed, and there's a good reason for that. That's because the instability is currently, it's there, but it's lacking in terms of the very strong instability or the moderate destabilization. We're not really seeing that quite yet in central Mississippi, but that's about to take place. So let's kind of show you some of the stuff. So what I like to do when I'm forecasting severe weather is, first of all, I look out the window. Looking out the window is essentially looking at your satellite and looking at your radar and looking at your water vapor and all that stuff. So we can look at what's called localized sectors. We'll zoom in on this area. There is definitely some energy that's ripping in. You can see those storms really not taking off yet, and there's a good reason for that. The energy hasn't quite moved in. Now, in order to see this, what do? Well, we look at, first of all, the big picture. And of course, we're focused on the southeast. So there's a dry punch that's coming in. Here's the energy. And once this starts nosing in, that's when the thunderstorms are really going to erupt. So it's just a little bit delayed. If we look at the low level water vapor, you're going to see plenty of moisture for these storms. There's the nose of that dry punch that's coming in. That's also going to fire off some storms. If we look at the visible, you can see some of those anvils are really taking off, and rightfully so, because we actually have some tornado warnings that are currently in progress for western and southern, basically very far southern Louisiana. So let me show you that here as we'll go back to Mega Doppler here real fast, and I'll give you the view on that. But definitely a very significant severe weather system that could be coming in. So here's a look at Mega Doppler, and there are some thunderstorms that are beginning to pop up. The shear is not quite in place yet. Once that low level jet kicks in, as the energy moves in, we're going to start to see more isolated supercell development. Now, some cells are trying to develop. They're just a little bit slow to develop, but those are making a beeline for the Yazoo City, Vicksburg area. We'll take a look at the mesoanalysis here in just a bit. There's the storms that are tornado warned, and including energy farther east. A lot of times with these big systems, and obviously it doesn't show anything on the radar because I'm not on that storm for the radar. But if I flip to a different radar, you're going to see a couple of isolated cells. If we look at the radar from Mobile, and there it is, definite shear, rotation, very impressive rotation. In fact, we might even have a potentially confirmed tornado. Let's look at my trusty PTDS. Nope, not showing up on there yet. So we don't have any type of debris or anything like that. But there's a look at the circulation. This is in extreme southwestern Alabama. So what's interesting is they're not even in the tornado watch. If you saw that tornado watch that's been issued, we look at the watch outline, the PDS tornado watch is in fact farther to the west. So let's take a look at that here. And they might be updating it. Let's see. So there's the watch outline. And if we bring up and we'll go flip to a different radar now. We'll flip back to Jackson here. Let's see what's going on. So they might be adjusting the watch right now to include areas farther east. There's a good possibility. Now, Benton County, there's nothing going on here. So this is basically for storms that are to the southeast. And, I'm covering this for a lot of people that want to know about storms. So let's get into some of the details again as we take a look at some other things. So how do I know the energy is not available yet? Well, if we look at the composite map, this is a very good tool to see that energy is still lagging back just a little bit. And this is from the RAP model, and it uses infrared as well. So it basically detects all these little, what we call vorticity areas within the storm. So there's the big long wave trough. Yes, there's plenty of jet stream energy. There's no doubt about that. But they're currently not in the right quadrant. Well, actually, they are in the right exit region, but it's actually not the one that's most favorable for strong lift. So that's why we're seeing a little delay in the storm activity. Once that swings east, once this energy moves in, we're going to get an eruption of storms, and I'll show you that. Also, when we look at the instability on this, as it pops up, and well, it's not showing anything, which is interesting. These low-level winds are a little too veered, and you're going to see what I mean by that. They're more out of the southwest. So southwesterly flow is not as favorable. Of course, this is 850. This is not the 925 millibars, but it's not as favorable for storm motions northeast. Those storm motions have to be more easterly. The low-level winds are increasing the moisture, but it still hasn't arrived yet. We got dew points in the mid to upper 60s south of there. That's why those storms are taking off a little more. It's all about the amount of moisture and the fuel that's available for these storms. And if we look at the vertical velocities, you can see that we're starting to get more lift. It just hasn't quite taken over yet. And let's go back to see. Yeah, it doesn't show anything on that. Obviously, a lot of large areas of moisture. So let's go to the sounding here. And this is the very latest sounding that was released, 18Z. Yes, a very deep moisture plume. However, it's not quite warm enough for very strong, what we say, low-level instability. So what has to happen is that temperature has to warm and the dew point has to climb in order for that parcel process curve to be farther to the right. Also, the shear is just not there. Not a very favorable shear profile as of now. Now, that does change when you get farther south. And notice that the dew points, when they're in the lower 70s, you have more instability. Still, though, not the best upper level profile in terms of thermodynamics. Now, what does have to happen is colder temperatures should be moving in over the area. So if we go back to the mesoanalysis here, and we look at what's called lapse rates, you're going to see those mid-level lapse rates are going to be a little steeper, and they're going to translate eastward. So that's going to bring more energy in storms. If you're just tuning in and you just hopped on, we've got a cold front that's moving into northwest Arkansas in a few hours. At about 5, 6 o'clock in the evening, it'll be knocking on our doorstep. But in fact, this Facebook Live is strictly about the potential tornado outbreak in the southeastern section of the United States. So Louisiana, Mississippi, Southeast Arkansas. And we're looking at a lot of details that are kind of fine scale. So good question. Is it going to be a high risk? It doesn't appear that it will be, but let's see what they've done for the newest risk. So I'm going to bring that up here real quick and we'll take a look. Nope, did not go high risk. And there's a reason for this. Reason they didn't go high risk is the convective mode is just not certain at this point. There's a lot of individual cells that are kind of cutting down on the instability. The timing is just a little off. And so we're not seeing that. Now, the Jonesboro area is a little bit farther northwest of all this activity. So if we look at the tornado potential, it's still there. There's no doubt about it. But the question is what are the storms going to do? And so in order to look at that, we got to look at the computer model. So let's go back here and we'll bring up the mesoanalysis. So we're going back into the lapse rates. We need those low-level lapse rates to really increase. And right now, they're not great. 6 is not very cold, low-level lapse rates. And so, or should we say steep? Now, later on, though, if we look at the wind shear, we'll look at the upper-level winds. So let's look at the 500 and 300 millibar analysis. So we're going to start to get those westerlies. See, as that trough swings east, once those westerlies start coming in, it looks like more storms will be popping, and then they're going to be moving more in a favorable direction for tornado potential. So let's look at the latest models, and let's see what this shows. And so this is the 19Z model run, and you'll notice that it does show that isolated supercells are going to take over, especially where the instability is greater. Now, the reason that they didn't go high risk is you can see this convective mode is kind of messy across central and northern Mississippi. Also, too, do you notice how the model, well, it actually does have that isolated supercell in western Alabama, actually a couple supercells. And what's interesting about that is we want to go back to the water vapor and look, where is that coming from? How is the lift making it all the way over there? Well, it's all about this dry punch. So you can see the dry punch right there. And there's so much energy that isn't sampled by the upper air sounding network that you're not going to see this. And that's why those storms pop up farther east. So a great example of how the models don't get the exact location of the storms. And oftentimes, sometimes the cells will be out way ahead of that risk area. So anyways, there's that sounding. Let's look at another sounding here. Now that is a very impressive thermodynamic profile, but it's just not very good with the shear. But keep in mind, this was at 18Z, so that low-level wind shear is going to be increasing. Okay, so going back to the HRRR, and then you can kind of see it gets a little bit messy. But there are indications that cells will definitely start rotating. How do we know that? Well, we go to updraft helicity tracks, and so this will kind of show you some of the areas where there could be helicity tracks. And so, but no, watch the model how it changes. So it changes quite often. That one doesn't have any upper level helicity tracks. And we'll go to the next one, and then you can see it does. So this is all dependent on where the storms pop up. But you can see all the models over the last few runs have had these updraft helicity tracks. What does that mean? This is a storm that's coming through that will rotate, and it shows the strength of the rotation essentially because of the amount of effective updraft helicity that's going to be available. So it's basically a spinning storm. It shows the track of a spinning storm. So if we go back here, it kind of took this out in the central Mississippi area, except for far north. So kind of a little tough to determine a target area. Me personally, it would be farther south in Mississippi. And the reason for that is, as we go back to this mesoanalysis, let's look at the Cape. Surface-based Cape is a little greater. There's also not as much convective, basically stuff that's popping up that's going to prevent thunderstorm development from taking place. So this cell is going to take off and probably become long track. Now the question is why aren't these tornadoing yet? Yes, there's tornado warnings, but I have yet to see anything that's confirmed. Well, there's a reason for that, and it's all about the critical angle. So I'm going to show you from Jackson, Mississippi, what's called the hodograph. And this is going to be way too much to explain. By the way, here's a tornado target. If we look at the consistency, it's been shown in central sections of Mississippi. If we look at the current for the updraft helicity, it does show those tracks moving through central Mississippi. So Jackson, Mississippi is really under the gun for the potential for a long track tornado. But it might be a little bit north of that. It might be, I think personally, like maybe a little southeast of Yazoo City, like Canton, Mississippi. That's what we're going to watch for. Okay, so why aren't these storms taking off? Because the wind shear is pathetic right now. It's not good for tornadoes. When I say good in terms of developing tornadoes, obviously tornadoes aren't good, but if you're tracking them and you're storm chasing, you don't want a tornado to hit anything. You don't want it to hurt anybody, but this is not good wind shear. This is not favorable wind shear. The low-level winds aren't very strong. Now let's go to a different radar and let's look at this and see if we can bring up the low-level hodograph. So also not great. And the critical angle is not very good at 46. If we go to this one, you've got a little bit better of a critical angle, but what needs to happen, and see, this is much better right here. So we got a pretty good storm motions in northeastern sections of Mississippi, but the critical angle is just not there. So for those that are really into weather and are studying this and want to know why these storms aren't tornadoing yet, this is the reason. There's three reasons. Number one, the instability isn't quite there. And number two, the low-level dew points are climbing, but they're not really cranking up yet. Then number three is the critical angles aren't there. So I know probably are just people are like, huh? And so I got some people on here asking about what's going on in Western Grove. I doubt you even get any rain at all. I don't think there's going to be any rain. If there is, it's going to be very, very, very brief. So there's really nothing going on around here. And I know it's kind of weird to do a Facebook Live, but let's face it, this is a significant potential major tornado outbreak. And so, yeah, exactly. Alexandria, Mississippi. So they've already had the storms, Shayla, and it's actually already coming through there. So good news is that they're on the far western edge, but additional storm development is probably going to take place. Oh, yeah. It's going to miss Clifty. This isn't anywhere near us. Please. You're going to see that here when we look at Megadoppler. That's one of the things I was contemplating doing a Facebook Live because everybody's going to be wondering about our area, but it's not. This is the tornado watch. There's absolutely no development at all over us. So it's almost not even worth going to the radar because there's nothing. I mean, it's, as you know, it's a blue sky out there with a few high clouds rolling through. Now, later on this evening, a front's coming in, and we talked about that at the beginning of this Facebook Live, but you're going to see it right here. There's nothing. There's absolutely zero across our area, so nothing around here. Okay, we got a new tornado warning that was just issued. This is north of Yazoo City, and this is an area where Josh Rugger, I'm pretty sure, is going to be at. He was pretty close to there, so I wonder where he's at. Oh yeah, that's rotating very, very nicely. However, that critical angle is not quite there yet. Now it's got to, in order for this storm to tornado, it's got to turn more to the right. Because you can see this right here. I'll bring this up. Let's see here. There we go. I guess I can't make both windows the same size. So there's the storm. Critical angle. This is for Jackson, Mississippi. It needs to be more to the right, but the low level wind shear is starting to increase, and that's probably going to lead to greater tornado potential. And that is starting to crank up. It is kind of tough to chase in Mississippi. Number one, a lot of trees. Number two, these storms are moving 50 knots. So there's going to be an additional storm that comes through, and there could be training supercells as well. But again, this is Mississippi, nothing even close to us. So just wanted to keep you in the know for those that are chasing, for those that are wondering what's going on. Don't have to worry here at all. There's absolutely nothing going on but the potential tornado outbreak for Louisiana, Mississippi, Southeast Arkansas. That's kind of getting out of the realm of storm development. But that front still has to come through, and so there could be some storms. There's Josh Rugger right there. He says, "What's up?" He's heading to Hollandale right now. So, Josh, if you're still on here, the critical angles are not there yet. As you see, very, very poor low-level wind shear, very poor shear vectors. However, the low-level winds should start kicking in here pretty soon as the low-level jet kicks in. So here's 925. You get farther east, you got more of a southerly component. So that means when you look at the what's called the hodograph here, so we go to wind shear, we look at the hodograph map. This is something really cool that SPC added. Notice how these critical angles, which is basically the angle between the actual shear profile and the storm motion, when it's less of an angle, that's a lower critical angle. When it's more of an angle and you're right at 90 degrees, that's pretty darn favorable. There's that cell that's popped up north of Yazoo City that's tornado warned that is moving northeast. It's still less than 90, so it needs to be more of a right mover if anything's going to happen, at least a long track violent tornado. And then this is a very good critical angle right there, but it's mainly for storms that are moving more east northeast and not northeast. So those are all things that are going to come into play. If we look at the 0 to 3 kilometer cape, it's starting to increase. So all things are starting to show up here. Supercell composites increasing. Watch how that kind of ramps up later on this evening. So this is going to be a nocturnal severe weather event too, as that significant tornado parameter will be increasing. Notice how there's absolutely nothing over us. And I don't even think, honestly, Northeast Arkansas has a lot to worry about. There might be a few isolated cells, but the surface-based instability just isn't coming back. And I don't think it does. So I think Northeast Arkansas is in the clear. Okay, let's go back to, they did not, like I said, issue that high risk. I thought they might, but then the convective mode just didn't look good. So there's the wind potential. Let me bring this up for you. So there's the tornado risk. It's a high with a hatched area. So that signifies the potential for strong to violent tornadoes. And if we come over here on Mega Doppler, that cell's starting to crank back up. So they were Hollandale. Okay. So they're getting to Hollandale. So Josh Rugger, right mover, please. That's right. You're watching this. So here's a look at Mega Doppler. There's the cell that's east of Hollandale. It's moving quick. But if you can get east on State Route 12, you might be able to catch that. Oh, yeah, that's looking good. That is looking good. There's Yazoo City, by the way. Driving north out of Yazoo City would be a perfect intercept. Oh, boy. I think this is about to produce. Oh, yeah. Very much so. No debris yet, but could be happening here shortly. I'm doing a Facebook Live on this tornado outbreak, Josh. Oh, yeah. Not here. Not even close to us. Not even close to us. No PTDS. No tornado detection. Nope. Nope. We're looking. Yeah. This is a cell. Now, problem is, Josh, is you're going to be Josh Rugger's chasing, by the way. So I'm kind of doing a Facebook Live to let people know about it, and at the same time, let Josh know what's up. Not this Josh, but Josh Rugger. But anyways, there's that cell, and there's the tornado warning, and storm's moving at about. You ready for this? 58 miles an hour.
Oh my god!
Yeah, it's moving fast.
Looking at.
So if Josh is in Hollandale, you're going to be behind it. It's going to be tough to catch up. Right now, it looks like that track will be coming through. Let's do a little storm track here. Let's see if that's the proper track. I think it's moving more easterly than that warning shows. So that's good. Let's give you the exact area. So let's go into here. Let's look at the center of the circulation. Let's go back in time. Oh yeah, that's moving way more easterly. 253 at 40. Okay, so that if you'll notice, it looks like that warning is too far in a northeasterly direction. So if we were doing a storm track, this is going to be coming towards Howard and Thornton and Chula, and that's going to be crossing US Highway 49. Yeah, those are the future path predictions right there, just to let you know. So you're probably going to see a new warning getting issued, and it's going to include Lexington. Yeah, I won't be able to catch that. Nope. That's going to be moving and getting farther away. Yeah, Yazoo City. Oh, wow. That is a very nice circulation. Let's see here. Nothing showing up on the. Of course, remember when that shows up, it means it's on the ground. We're going to wait for further supercell development southwest of us. Yep. Yeah, there's some other stuff too. There's another storm that's down by Lake Providence that's coming through. But this is what we mean by the messy mode, convective mode. There's just a lot of additional cells that are popping up. That is a very impressive circulation. So let's look at the, let's go back to that sounding here. Bring this up real fast. All right, so we'll go here, add to stream, and I want to go to take a look at this photograph. All right, it's updated. Okay. Little bit better. Sometimes these bads aren't great either, but I want to update this storm motion because the storm motion's not great. I want to do it this way. So we're going to update that. 253 at 40. So that's way more easterly. 253 at 40. It's hard to get it exact. There we go. Now, see, that critical angle is 72, so that's getting better. Once that low-level shear starts increasing, we're going to be looking a lot better. And once we get that probably isn't the best view from the VAD as well, from Jackson. It's getting there, though. Back to Mega Doppler here, because this is definitely a strong circulation. Check this out. This thing is cranking. Yeah. And there it is. It's about to exit the eastern part of that warning. Definitely way more easterly. All right, so those westerlies are starting to come in, and they're starting to get kicking in. Yeah, critical angles weren't good, but now we're starting to get a little bit better. Yeah, Will Smith would approve of that circulation. That's hot. That's hot. as Will Smith would say. Still doesn't have the tornado detection on there. It's getting close though. Critical angle's getting better. Look at that spectrum width. Oh yeah, I think we've got it. Let's see. The debris has to be lofted about 3,000 feet. So look at this though. We got a strong circulation. And I'll bring this up full so you can see that. Look at that. Yeah, I think there's pretty much going to be one on the ground. I think this is going to be confirmed here real soon. Look at how that mesocyclogenesis took over. New mesocyclone forming south of the new cell. That's going to be the new one that takes over. This will probably rope out the north end right here. So this north end is going to rope out. And I bet you the bottom one will start taking over. So these will be cyclic tornadic supercells. But sometimes the cycle might be lasting quite a while. Let's look at, for good old Riley Bell's sake, we'll look at KDP and ZDR. And definitely can see a ZDR arc that's in perpendicular to the storm motion. Very high KDP too. It's not the best radar sampling on the south side of the storm, but still very impressive circulation. One new update here, and then I'll kind of drop off the Riley index. Tornado is looking imminent. Yes. Wouldn't doubt if it's already touched down. It's just so rural, and it looks like a lot of this gravel won't be getting airborne. I don't know what that is. Like a salt flat or something. That's pretty crazy. It's very rural. So that's at least one good thing. Yep. The critical angle has to get just a little bit better. It's definitely rotating, though. I bet Ryan Hall has it all. Look at that. There's the new mesocyclone that's starting to develop. Look at that. Still doesn't show any type of debris. So this storm is really cranking up. Josh, are there any other cells that are to your southwest? Let's check it out here real quick. Yeah, there's a couple other cells. I bet you this one will start taking off. Let's look at the echo tops. Oh, yeah. See how this one's a lot stronger, though? But that had to develop, and so it will. This one will develop, probably train over the same area. So just be watching for that. Wait till that new tornado warning comes out. Yep, that's exactly. Yep, it's in Yazoo. Man, just north. That's what I would say. Yazoo City. That was my target area yesterday. That wouldn't have been bad. Just a half hour drive to see that crossing the whatever. I don't even know what kind of terrain there is. All right. Well, that about covers it. So I'm gonna drop off. If Josh needs me, he can call me in the weather lab. But tornado outbreak is impending and ongoing, and it's going to be. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I think it's going to be pretty rough, considering there's a lot of stuff going on with the energy that's increasing, the systems coming in, the critical angles will be getting better, the moisture and the instability will be increasing. Around here, cold front coming in around 5, 6 o'clock, and it will be a very sharp, dramatic wind change as well as a wind increase. So the winds will die down a little bit before the front arrives over the next few hours, and then the winds will pick back up out of the north, and it's going to be a dramatic temperature drop. So, all right, everyone, be safe. Have a good one, and we'll see you on the news tonight with the latest weather forecast, which does include more rain for the upcoming weekend. Take care, guys.